Good morning, and good morning. Okay, it's 2 minutes after. Oops, went to three. It's 3 minutes after 9, and for some reason, my computer was slow this morning. It wouldn't let me in. I don't know. They've been having a little trouble with the internet system here, and they keep sending me these notes. They don't know why, but having trouble in your area. We're trying to fix it now. We apologize. But yeah, and still the bills come on time and the payment is made. But there you go. But anyway, hope you had a nice weekend. It was a long one for some of us. Some people might have had to go back to work. But I had the 3 days off and I used them very well. I enjoyed myself immensely with jazz. I am a jazz head. I will go and just listen to music and just loving the idea of just chilling out. It's just absolutely wonderful, and I've truly just enjoyed my weekend doing just that. So come Tuesday, of course, I'm rushing around with work to do. I had a board meeting yesterday downtown at the branch library with some board members, and that went well. But it just left me know I had more to do today. So um, I'm preparing for tomorrow's regular meeting of our Rotary Club. So there's always something to do. I always find that I have work. I am never without work. Either it's made for me or I make it. It's one or the other. Something is going on. Something is going on. But this morning I thought about something that occasionally I remember as a classroom teacher that I had students that used to do it, which was daydream. And then I remember, myself on occasions, even my mother, you know, telling me that's all I used to do. And the teachers would tell my mother, Sandra loves to daydream. I am a daydreamer. I just believe sometimes that's the best way to get my thoughts where I'm present, but not really present. I'm thinking about something else that I need to work on, something else that needs to be made, and I do just that and have fun doing it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've always loved, going into myself and being able to use my own creativity. And I know a lot of people have trouble with that unless something is written out and told to them, they cannot form anything. But I'm just the opposite. I love, absolutely love being a daydreamer. And they said it's really good for you because it gives the mind an opportunity to just relax a minute and get into yourself, whatever your thoughts are, wherever you want to take your mind for. It may be a minute, it may be five. For some people, they're probably continual or continuous, daydreamers. They love it. They love the idea that they're giving themselves that opportunity to just back off from whatever the world is requiring of them, the moment, the job, something. Um, and sometimes when I've taken that minute, 30 seconds, whatever it is, I come back with even a better idea of what I need to work on. It's almost like I would call it my visionary planning in the head, not the vision board itself, but the actual planning that goes in how I think about things and which way I want to take them and how well it may work, or and I may even look at the limitations of it, but they're like just private opportunities for you to just back off of what somebody else or something else or things that are requiring of you. It really gives you an opportunity to just chill, just do absolutely nothing for anybody else but yourself and get into your own head. But are you a daydreamer? That's my question today. Are you a daydreamer? That's the opening line of my little write up that I try to do all the time. And there's a lot of people that are. They do just that and they enjoy it. And some people don't want to let other people know that that's what they do. But a lot of times, every head that's bowed doesn't mean that they're asleep, or every head that might be, tilted, with their hands covered doesn't mean that they are thinking about something that's related to you, or even the project that sits before them. Sometimes it's just an opportunity to just let the mind go where it wants to. Think about nothing that is relatable to the current moments that you're in, but allows you to take yourself away from the current moments and just move into your own self. So anyway, this morning I found this poem that talks about daydreams, and it says, "I remember the turtle beneath our basement stair. I see him sleeping there. Maybe he's dreaming of clover, a shake beside a tree. Days when he was free. When he awakes, he lurches, searches through the gloom around and across the room, scratches of the stones. Methodically, he crawls, scrapes against the walls. The walls mark his prison, but even if he knows, on and on he goes. I remember the turtle when I was only 3, whose courage was lost on me." It's interesting because in this instance, it just describes how sometimes we are like turtles that become pets. We're pets to others. We become this ornamental kind of thing, or this person that revs out a lot of stuff for a lot of people, but we really are imprisoned and entombed in those situations. But then we are daydreamers, and that's why she said, "I wonder about that turtle. What does he daydream about?" That's us. What do we daydream about? Even though we're required to work, required to do things, required to be there for conversations and everything that's required of a parent or a spouse or a lover or a teacher or a preacher. Doesn't matter. There's still an opportunity that you want to just get away just for your own mental period of wiseness, self-wiseness. How often do we get to do that? Not very often. Not very often. As I said, some people may sneak it in. Others are afraid to do it because they are needed so much. But I believe there's a healthiness to it. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to daydream. So the word this morning is reverie. Reverie. And reverie is just that. It's a daydreamer. It says a state of being pleasantly lost in one's thoughts. A daydream. you know, and many of us don't give ourselves any kind of leeway from being so on point, on target, traditional, in place. So when we get an opportunity to do just the opposite of that and being pleasantly lost in our own minds, um, and I have to be honest with you, music does that to me. I can relax to music. I can recoil to music. I can be loved in music. I can be, respected in music and cared for in my music. So for me, that's what music does for me. It actually gives me another, I don't know, coat of armor to come on back out there again. Like the turtle, I need that shell. And so when I go in, I'm in my opportunity to become wise again. Then when I come out with whatever tools I was given while I was in there. And, so for me, that's my reverie. And reverie, as I said, is a state of being in one's thoughts, their daydreams. It says they're when they might be in a trance. Have you ever seen people that look like they might be in a trance? A lot of times they're just daydreaming. They're just in their own thoughts, almost like meditation. I don't know if any of you are people who meditate, but I have a couple of friends who meditate and they believe in it. They believe it gives them an opportunity to clear their head of all the worldliness of what is required of them. And they just get into, almost like a phase or a space, that's good. They just get in this space that just says, this is where I am. This is how I feel. I'm loving it. Um, And it says it also could be fantasy for some people. Going into that space of reverie puts them in their own vision, no one else's vision. They're not thinking about, children and work and, chores around the house and driving. It's just their thoughts of themselves and getting into that mellowness of personal. Okay. It says it could be for some people hallucinating. I don't want to get that far. I don't want to make it where I'm outwardly showing people that I'm crazy. Hallucinations generally mean that you're not coherent. So I don't want to be tranced in that instance. I want to be in control of just being the musing type of reverie, which says I'm just daydreaming. It says that there is an intention to it, that you do find purpose in it, and it's a period of preoccupation where you're not attending to what someone else is giving you to do or what else needs to be done. It's a period when you are just having fun or relaxing in your own thoughts. It says it could be a period of obliviousness or engrossment or absorption, um, absent-mindedness. Now, I know some people who are absent-minded. It has nothing to do with them daydreaming. They're just absent-minded. They just forget to do things. And it's a period of abstraction. So to me, reverie means, just a period of getting away from what is being required without it being too wildly that you're gone or too far away from where you need to be. It's just that you're present, but you're not connecting with people or things. You're connecting with yourself, almost like this verticalness of who you are, which makes it to me okay. Um, so I ask you this morning, are you a daydreamer? Are you stuck in daydreaming? Periodically, it says it's okay to get stuck in daydreaming. That's when some people do their best work, when they go back into themselves and have an opportunity to bring out something that they've been able to almost conjure up. Like, to me, sometimes even when I took a sleep class once, and I remember in the sleep class it said, when you wake up, if you have certain things, hey, you're back. Hey, dear, how are you? You back down from New York? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, Debbie. Today's word is reverie, and it means daydreaming. And so we have this tendency where, we don't want to let anybody know or everybody know that we daydream, but daydream is okay. Okay, it's you had an awesome trip. Good deal. Good deal. Um, so anyway, when we look at reverie and the fact that it does allow us to daydream, that when I break that word down, I start with my R, of which I say is redirect. I have been able to redirect my thoughts from being external to being internal, from being, overtly interested in everything to being introvertedly. I'm going to deal with whatever I'm dealing with, and it may be that I said it may be for a few seconds, because sometimes we have to pull ourselves back just to deal with what might be the elephant in our head or in our heart. We might be troubled. We might be dealing with something. We might have heard something just before we went into a meeting or received a phone call or a text message, because there's many ways. There's multiple ways to get a hold of us now. So we're dealing with things, and sometimes the only way we can do that is we pull back. So reverie gives us time to redirect. And it says this is when we direct ourselves to something that's different from what our general purpose might be at the time. So if we're not, having a conversation with our spouses or our children or whatever, we may go and sit in a space that just allows us to get in that conversation with ourselves without it being, released to anyone else. It's personal. And so it is redirected. And so this redirection allows us to alter what we were doing to what we need to do. And it says it's a way for us to deflect. Sometimes we do need to deflect and redirect ourselves from what we, or switch from what we were doing, especially if it's something that pulls on us a lot. If you've ever dealt with death, if you've dealt with, you know, financial issues, it could be divorce, whatever it is. Okay. Sometimes the only time we can get, solaceness in our mind is if we redirect the way we think. And sometimes we can do that by just saying, I'm going to check out here for a minute. I'm going to go into the mode of where I'm just thinking about myself a minute, you know, and I'm going to close my eyes, or I'm going to even because my teachers told my mother, she can be right there, talking about me, with her eyes open, but she's not with it. So I was okay. I was okay. But she said, but I believe, but they always thought that I had good sense, that I was very smart, but I didn't always know how to relay that to someone, make it relatable. So I held in a lot. But when we redirect in our reverie, we really talk about switching from what is expected of us to ourselves. And we want to do what we want to do. And we avert and we change. How many of us would like to change the reality? That's really good. That's really good, because sometimes our reality is that we need to go into ourselves a minute, or the reality is we realize what's going on and we need a moment. We need a minute, we need 10 minutes. I used to have a friend I worked with that always would tell me, girl, give me a minute, I got to absorb all that's going on. And that's honesty. I think when people tell you that they need a minute, let them have it. Especially if it's going to calm them and bring them back to where you all can talk again. So that redirection to me is really good. When I move on to my word of reverie, I talk about engrossed. We as people get engrossed in projects that are so large that we're all caught up in what it's all about, from beginning to the middle, and then we can't wait till it gets over and gets to that end. And capture. Oh, that's really good. I like that, Debbie. I do. Um, but engross really talks about having one's attention. That means I can't attend to that until I attend to this. And a lot of times we don't even look at the order of our lives. We let other people determine where we're at, and we shouldn't. But sometimes we're forced to, or we're paid to. Sometimes when you're paid to, you have to be on point. Like I used to sometimes have to go to meetings, and I was already, bogged down with what they had already given me. And the meeting interrupted what I felt was on schedule when I left, that was going to be off schedule once I left where I was at. So, yes, entrancement. Yeah, that's good too. Entrancement, to be caught up, and people do that. That's part of that whole thing of reverie. It is another form of just daydreaming. So engross says that you're going to be absorbed, captivated by something, consumed, engaged, and enthralled. All those words describe the fact that reverie does that through us, with us being engrossed periodically with what we need to deal with. Mentally, I just think it's a good thing that sometimes we separate to get our thoughts together on how we need to approach the next minute, the next discussion, the next project, something. When we move on in our word of reverie, the V I have is my vision. What is my vision? We're given visions all the time. And I feel that when you have an opportunity to deal with your own reverie, you don't have to necessarily put it out in a vision board, but the vision may be in your head. And ultimately, you may write it down and it becomes part of the vision that you're moving out on. But sometimes, I know for myself, I've been given the vision of what I needed to do, and I can come out of that little period where I'm just getting it all together, all I would say the tentacles of making it successful or making it work for me, and I move out on it, and it makes it work. It makes it work. So for me, that's my vision. That's my vision. Someone else's vision may be different. Vigorous. Yeah, I like that too. Because vigorous, because sometimes when you think of something being vigorous is like, you know, how important and fast is it for them, how much is in it, what ideas came out of those thoughts that you took under that period of reverie when you were daydreaming, what came out, because you may come out writing a whole bunch of things or having a discussion with several people about what's next. um, the vision I have talks about it being the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. That's the vision that I wrote down for my V. And it says it's when you put your creativity to something, your innovation, your intuition. Now, how many of us have been given innovative things, intuitive things, wise things, insight, real quick? Many of us have, you know, and we may only be given the what I would call the crest of it, where it's just about to come in, and then all of a sudden it opens up and it blossoms, and we have, a lot of information on what we need to do, or a lot of ideas on what we need to do next, just from that small period of reverie. So it talks about the vision also being inspiring, perceptive, having foresight, having discernment. Because in sometimes our quiet time when we're in our own heads and we're going through that period of reverie, we may find out that we become aware of what we need to do. So we're given awareness, so all those things really talk about the vision. When we move on in our word of reverie, we talk about the period of enchantment. um David, you've probably, like myself, you can imagine some of the things that you want to do creatively, such as the things that you make, the artistic part of you comes through. Same thing for me. I mean, I can sometimes think up things. I remember when I was getting my doctorate, even though I started as a voice major in undergraduate school and have sung all these years, I never put it, I never had the idea of putting it in my dissertation till I spoke with well, actually, he was an assistant to my advisor. And he says, well, Sandra, I think you need to put all the things in that can be connected to who you are in the long run, not just the short run, but make it so that it doesn't spread you out so long that it take you forever to do it. Oh man, that put me in my reverie for a long time. I stayed in my head like, how can I do this? And I ended up, adding my question with, at the end it says, using rhythmic language in jazz. And so I actually wrote the music, which became the stimulus for any of the participants of my study. You just never know how you can expand just by going back through what someone said to you or what you're thinking, and how you can take it from being private to making it being self-actualized and public. But it did. Enlarge. Oh, that's really good. How do we enlarge our ideas that start in our heads? Start in that little period of reverie where it's just us, it's just you, and your ideas. And all of a sudden you got a big idea. There's so many people that talk about, like, when they go on like Shark Tank, or I've read some books that really people have just made huge amounts of headway in being recognized for what it is they created, that started as a vision in their head. Okay. It was their reverie period, when they said, man, I woke up with this. And I've done that. I wake up with stuff, and then I start out, well, I'm going to start doing this and this. Entice, that's another good word, Debbie. How many of are us enticed by things that we've experienced, where it might have come to us originally by way of starting with a discussion, and maybe us going into that period of reverie where we're in our heads and we're daydreaming about it, and we figure out how we can make it work, how we can gain traction on it. So I do like that. So, once we go through this whole period of enchantment, for me, is what my word was. Good morning, Erica. Today our word is reverie, which is daydreaming, and how we make daydreaming become ultimately part of our lives that we move out on. We step out on things that came to us through the period in which we backed off of everything else. It might be, recipe. It might be how to, start a small side business, those things, making our creativity that starts with, the thoughts in our heads, ultimately where it becomes something that actually pays us financially. So I have also for my E, so far under reverie, I have redirect, engrossed, vision, enchanted. And enchanted talks about placed under a spell. Sometimes we don't realize, but we are given a spell. And the spell may be short, or it may be a little bit longer in time. And we might feel a period of where we feel bewitched because we were given a lot during that small period of hiatus. We were just, eyes closed, some of us eyes open, and we're like going through, wow, that excites me. How am I going to put that together? That's when new work begins. That's when the new idea begins. So enchanted talks about being allured, attracted, captivated, charmed, and fascinated. Many of us are all of those things, and it comes through reverie, through the period of time of which we are daydreaming. Now, I got to admit, sometimes daydreaming could be you not thinking about anything. Okay. Your mind is just on relaxed. Your mind is just on nothing. You can't remember what you were doing during that time. You were just daydreaming. Maybe it's looking out the window, seeing the flower, seeing the trees, looking out, seeing the foliage. I like the foliage. I don't have much out there anymore. They've kind of fallen off. That one little tree that has colorful leaves is almost gone, my maple tree. But anyway, so that's what we do when we really look at being enchanted with what and how we live our lives. We have periods where we may check out, and we're in the presence of other people where we still checked out. Okay, that's reverie. Okay. Empty-minded. Oh, that's really good, Debbie. That's funny. But sometimes you could be empty-minded. My R, when I move on in the word, is my reaction. Sometimes my reaction to my period where I've gone into my reverie, where I'm daydreaming, may be an action that's positive, where I have a springboard into something else. Or I have an idea where I'm tackling something that I was having trouble with. I know how to address it. Sometimes that's what those periods are. And they could be, as I said, they could be short periods. It says reaction, action performed, or a feeling experienced in response to a situation or event. Sometimes what we're going through, it may be hurt, it may be happy, it may be whatever. We may have a period where reverie needs to come to play. I'm going to tell you now, if I ever win, and I have to play first, if I ever win like millions and millions of dollars, I'm going into a period of reverie because I'm gonna have to think about that. You know, um, how do I move forward? What do I know what to do? Get a lawyer first. You just never know. You never know what your reactions will be. But that a reaction is that you're responding to what has been, dealt to you or stimulated through you. And so you're reacting to it. Redesign. Okay. Because we do have to redesign what we're doing and how we're going to go forward once something significant has happened. Um, let me see, make sure I gave all that. Yes, but the reaction is what happens next? What's next? How was our response? Was it negative? Was it positive? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it um did it give us anxiety? What happened? That's our reaction. Our reaction is what happens after we've been, I would say, pinged, hyperventilating. What are we doing to that area? When we move on in the word of reverie, I say that reverie is individualized. If you are a dreamer, if you are a frequent and consistent dreamer, daydreamer, then your daydreaming is surely individualized from my daydreaming, where I'm already telling you, I know periodically I may have a small daydream, not as much as I did when I was a child. Because when I was a child, I had a great imagination, you know. And I feel that children encourage, if you have children, grandchildren, encourage them to live, through what they're hearing or seeing. It's nothing wrong with that. It says actually those children have a tendency to be good writers, good storytellers, because they can make up things. They make up things from what they've experienced, and that becomes what they can daydream about. How to name a furry animal, how to dress things, how to, you know, sometimes you wonder where children get their ideas from. And some children just come with a plethora of things to do and they act like they know how to do them. And there's nothing you can do about that. Illusion. I like that word too. That's good, Debbie. Illusion, because sometimes we do have illusions about what it is and how we're going to get it done. And then we go back and ask ourselves, did it work? Did our approach work? Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. Let's face it. So individualized talks about tailored to suit a particular individual. Tailored to suit a particular individual. It's personal, it's momentous, it's indifferent, it's personalized, you know. So my ideas and my thoughts that I go into in my period of reverie, they're not going to be someone else's thoughts. They're mine. Whatever they go into, that's theirs. Ignite. That's a great word. How do we ignite what it is that we come up with during our periods of reverie? Many of us have a lot of things that we could say and do or even become after we've had these short jaunts, and some people it may be longer jaunts of time dealing with ourselves into our own imagination. There's a song that I used to love from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Um, and I think the song was called My Imagination. Listen to it. It's just a beautiful song. And when I was when I was much younger, and when my daughter was young, every time I would hear that song, I could have a tear coming, falling out of my eye, only because our imagination will get us where we need to be sometimes, or where we shouldn't be other times, just because it's our imagination. We either think the wrong things and then we believe the wrong things, or we are happy about what we're thinking, and we're able to be in the right position because we're thinking rightly. We're thinking the right way. And so that would be my individualization of understanding my imagination. So um, I think imagination is a really great word. But ignite would be good because that fits well, because that's what, to me, that's what our periods of reverie does for us. It can ignite things, positive or negatively. It is what it is. And my E today, my final letter in my word, is for enthralled. It says where we're captured and fascinated. We're given, it's given and taken our attention. So we got that. It's called pure, that's it, pure imagination. It is. Yes, yes, Erica. Everybody that's on here, listen to that song, Pure Imagination. It is so beautiful. Um, I don't know, every time I hear it, it gives me pause. It gives me time to just think how many of us have imaginations that um, we don't always believe in, but we've been given the idea that we imagined it. And sometimes, if you've imagined it, you certainly could be, encouraged, encapsulate. That's really good too, Debbie. Ooh, ooh, ooh. But thank you, Erica, and thank you, Debbie. Those are just, it's just a great idea that when we look at our pure imagination, we could be, probably 10 miles up the road in our ability to work on things that we imagined. And we imagined them to be things that could be positive, not the negative side, but the positive side we want to stay on. But I said enthralled for my E, which says captured the fascin and has fascinated attention of whatever it is, where we have become captivated, charmed, bewitched, entranced, beguiled. I always like that word, beguiled, fascinated, transfixed, and transported. How many of us are transported every time we hear a story? When I was little, I used to love for, my mom to read to us, and then my mom got tired of it because, remember, I'm a baby of 10 kids. So eventually she was encouraging us to read to each other. So that's why I'm a lover of books, a lover of knowledge, and will periodically I can get into my head and make up some stuff. Only because I believe that periodically I go through that period of reverie, and I'm okay with it. I have nothing negative to say about those who might go into their own reverie and be able to come up with something that they've imagined as being positive for themselves. Positive. But listen, that's all I have for today. You all, I appreciate you for coming in. I think Joan is on travel. Um, but anyway, hoping you all had a great weekend, and you're going to start the remainder of this week as being okay. I'm going to encourage you that if you can take a moment where you can go into yourself and get an opportunity to do a little reverie, do it. Do it. You may find that you're adding something on to your page of relevance for yourself. I didn't say others, and maybe you'll come up with a way to sell your stuff on Shark Tank. I'm just kidding. But I'm saying do your do on yourself. Understand the importance of what reverie can really do for us. It's not a negative thing. Even as children, there's a lot of children who, as I said, they will go in to daydreaming, and yes, sometimes teachers get aggravated at the fact that the child's not present, but later on those children may be significantly advanced, only because they dared to daydream. Big children, daydream as much as you can and use it for your good. Have a great week. Till Friday, I will be back. Missed you guys over the weekend. I felt like I was off on Monday. whenever there's a holiday, I feel like something's crazy going on. I love you too, girl. I love everybody. Uh, um, but we will see you on Friday with another word. And I've been coming up with different words, a little bit longer this time. So we may be running, for 35 to 45 minutes as opposed to it being just a typical 30, 32 minutes. But anyway, I love you guys. If you don't do anything else, you can hit that share button and let other people know that Are You Stuck is on the air Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I am Dr. Winnie. I hope to see you all soon. Love you guys. Love you, love you, love you. Thank you. Take care. I like it. I like it. Bye-bye, y'all.